Hi, my name is Samantha and welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be reviewing the 2025 Italy Spring Bling show. Let's get into it. So this was my third time as a vendor at the Spring Bling show. I was a vendor back in 2022, 2023, and then this year in 2025. It went really well. It was not planned ahead of time, so I applied as soon as I could. Let's backtrack a minute. So 2022 is the first time that I went there. When did I start doing shows? 2021, I believe. 2021 I started doing shows, and that was under my old name, Tansley Paper Co. So March 5th 2022, the first time I did the Spring Bling, was like my first show as So Sustainable, and it went well. It was really cool this year to like go back and see all the photos. So then 2023, I was a vendor again. That went well. 2024, I applied and then I was waitlisted, and I didn't get into the spring show or the winter show. And then in March of this year, I had applied as soon as it came out, right? Like same day that the application came out, I applied. I got waitlisted, and then so the show was on Saturday, March 1st. So the Tuesday before, so like 4 days before the show, I got an email saying, hey, we have a spot available. Somebody dropped out. You have 2 hours to respond. And I'm like, okay. And I was like, how big is the space? How much does it cost? And they're like, it's a 10 by 10 and it's $100. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. And if you've watched any of the 600 jar opener challenge I did last month, I was not planning on going anywhere this past weekend. I was planning on finally taking a break and relaxing for a minute. February was so crazy busy with everything that I had going on. But also I was like, oh my gosh, I'm making all this effort to make all these jar openers, and like it's not making an impact, I'm not getting any sales from it, and like it's a waste of my time, but it'll pay off later in the year when I do shows. I was like, okay, I really need to go to this show. One, I need to get back in the cycle. I need to get back in the good graces of the event hosts, right? So that I can get into the winter show, because the spring show is a good show, but the Christmas show is where it's at. Like, you're gonna make dullest money for like a community cost, and it's insane. Like, I would love to get back into the winter show. So I was like, I have to go. Thankfully, with my full-time job, we have what's called personal days and floating holidays, and you could take those at a last minute with like no notice. So on Tuesday, I was able to send a message to my manager and be like, hey, something came up. I need Friday off. So Thursday night, I stayed up to like 11 o'clock finishing up the jar opener step that I was working on. Friday, I woke up at 6:30 in the morning, and then I started working on them, and I finished at noon on Friday. Friday at noon, I didn't have a toothbrush packed. So I was like, okay, we got to get packing. So I got everything all packed up, and thankfully I was able to get on the road and get there in time. So Friday was set up, and then Saturday was the show. And I knew Friday at a minimum, I wanted to be able to get there and just dump my stuff. If I could set up partially or the full way, that's great. But like just being able to go and dump makes a huge difference, because like one, you know for sure where your space is. Two, at Italy specifically, if you've been there before, the building that the show's at is up top, and then where the vendor parking is down at the pool, like the outside pool. So that's 0.3 miles away. So I did not want to deal with Saturday morning. I'm 3 hours away. Wake up at like 2 in the morning to go drive down there, to get there in time, to park my car, hopefully close enough to be near a ramp, to then go take my stuff in. It took me 3 trips to take everything in, to then go move my car further down, to then go walk back up to the building. They did have a shuttle going back and forth, but it was 0.3 miles, so I just walked, and then set up, right? I was like, I need to go Friday. Who knows what's gonna happen with traffic, and then like I just want to be able to go on Saturday and like just go park, walk up, and then start setting up. You know what I mean? So that was my goal. I also, on the way down, if you've been following any of the Joann's mess that's been happening, I wanted to go to Joann's to see what was going on, because I've seen really mixed things online and from friends and family, that like Joann stores that are closing still are only having 20% off, and like stuff is not really on sale. But then I've seen people who they've gotten a whole bolt for $8. So it's like, what's happening? Like some stores are, some stores aren't. And in my position, the closest Joann's to me in Pennsylvania is not closing down, and it's like 35-40 minutes away one way, in a place that I don't really go. So I'm not going to go there just to go buy something I don't need for a store that's not closing. And then the closest store that is closing is an hour away. So again, I'm not going to spend an hour worth of gas one way, and so 2 hours total of time and gas to get there, and it's 20% off. You know what I mean? So I was like, I'm not going. And so there's a Joann's on my way to Virginia that's relatively close off the path, like way closer than any other one. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna allow enough time to be able to go and check it out. And I went. It was so busy. It's Friday at like 3 or 4 o'clock. No, it wasn't 3 o'clock, because that's when I left for Pennsylvania. It was 4:30, 5 o'clock. It was before 5 o'clock. It was 4:30-ish. This parking lot was full. There was Hobby Lobby, there was Joann's, there was Dick's, there was Dollar Tree, and the parking lot is full. I'm like, how are there this many people out and about shopping? Like, what is going on? And I went into Joann's, and Joann's was not packed, but like all the times that I've been to Joann's, not that I go all the time, but like the times that I do go to Joann's, like there was a lot of people in there compared to how many there are normally. And I had my list. I was like, I'm not just going to go in and fill up my cart with random stuff. I'm like, I have a list. I know how much it needs to be on sale to be able to buy it. And I have a budget in my head. And I went in, and half the stuff on my list wasn't even on sale, and the other half was 20% off. And then there's people in there like loading up their carts. And I'm like, I'm so confused. Like, you're not going to save Joann's from bankruptcy because they're already going bankrupt, right? They already declared it twice. So, and then there's other places you could buy fabric. Like, they're not, the people that I saw were not getting things that were like Joann's exclusives, right? Like, there's still plenty of other places that you can shop. You could go to Walmart, you could go to Hobby Lobby, you could go to Michael's, you could shop online on Joann's, because Joann's is not closing. Some of the stores are closing. So you can still shop online at Joann's. You could shop on Amazon. You could shop on any other fabric store, right? So like Missouri Star Quilt Company, they're a huge crafting store online. In person, there's a ton of quilt shops you could go to. In North Virginia, there's the Mojo Sews, or not Mojo Sews, that's the place that was here in Pennsylvania. What is the name of it? That's the wrong word. What was the name of that place? I can't think of it off the top of my head, but it's in Loudon. I'll have it put up on the screen. There's the place in Fairfax. There's a place in Leesburg. Like, those are 3 places that I know of right off the top of my head. You could go to the thrift store. So I didn't buy anything at Joann's. I left with nothing, but I did get to go to the thrift store. Ugh. And I got this bad boy for $10. This video is coming on Thursday. So yeah, you don't have to get stuff at Joann's. Granted, I know that there's stuff that they have that like it's harder to find other places. Like, I get it if you're someone who's like making clothes or making cosplay or that kind of stuff. Like, that stuff is definitely different, and that stuff you're not going to find at any other the major retailers. But like, you could still shop online. I don't know. I was just really confused why people were buying so much stuff. Like, there was a line of people to check out, and I was like, what is going on? And I also don't think that store was closing, because they had a sign outside saying that they were hiring. And I was like, okay, so this place isn't even going out of business. So I don't know. Like, I would love to know what's going on at your Joann's in the comment section down below, because I feel like there is such a spectrum. Like, it is so different at every store. And like, even the remnants section was like empty. There was like 2 or 3 remnants. So I left with nothing. But I thought that was really interesting. So the show was on Saturday from 9 to 4. It was Saturday only, free parking, free admission. The setup was either Friday night from 5 to 9 or Saturday from 6 to 8. I was able to get there in time to be able to unload, set up my table, set up my sign, get my tablecloths put down, and then I put my displays down, and I'm trying to figure out like, ooh, how do I want things? Because I didn't have time to do a mock table. I didn't even know if I brought everything, because when we did like organizing the inventory at the end of the year last year, and I just like cleaned everything up and put everything in bins, I just took everything. My car was filled to the top. I could not see. I could only see on the mirrors, right? I could not see out the back because I didn't know. I didn't know what I needed to take. I didn't know what was in the bins. So I just took everything. And I'm glad I did, because I was missing, so the kits, that was the first time that I was selling the kits in person. I didn't print out a sign for that, so I had to manually write one. And then people kept thinking that they were done. They're like, oh, like, is this already done? Like, oh, I have to make it? I'm like, it says kit. Like, yeah, you have to make it. So I need to make a better sign for that. But yeah, so that didn't go over super well. I did sell one, but people were not getting the concept. And then my bags. So there's two kinds of bags that I use for, like, here you go, if you want something in a bag. I use the brown paper bag, like lunchbox bags, right? And then I have like fancier bags that like have a handle, and both of them are paper because I'm a sustainable company, right? So I don't want plastic. I'm giving out paper. So I only had like the sandwich bags, and I like, they come in what, a pack of like 200 or something, and it was like half gone, and I was like, oh my god, what if I run out of bags? So I didn't run out of bags. That was good, because I don't just default package things for people. I just ask, do you need a bag? And it's about 50-50 whether people say yes or no. So yeah, need to add bags to the pile, and I need to get another bag of the lunch bags, and then I need to make signs for the kits. But you don't know until you set up. And also my little signs that say like, thanks for shopping with me, and here's my upcoming shows. I still had a bunch of those from last year. So I'm thinking I'm just gonna chop them in half, because the top half is still relevant. It's kind of like a big business card, and I could just put those already in all of the bags, and then I can make a new one that has all of the show days for 2025. I have my list of the things that I want to do this year, but I still have not applied to anything. So I need to send in my applications. Yeah. So it was very good to be able to do this show, to set up, to figure out what it is that I was missing, because I didn't know. Yeah, but Friday night, I like set up, and I like walked backwards. I did the tables, I put the displays down, and I'm visualizing, okay, if the customer comes in from this side, how does it look? If the customer comes in from this side, how does it look? And I'm like adjusting the displays, because it's so much easier to adjust the displays while they're empty than like adjust the product. And then I was also able to go through the towels. So the bins that I had 2 bins full of towels and reusable towels. And then I had 2 bins and a container, like one of these containers worth of jar openers. So the towels, I ended up with 3 displays, and what I did is I just had one of each towel displayed and the rest underneath, so that then the table was kind of in 3 sections. So there's 3 layers, right? The back layer was all the displays. So that's the towels, that's the vertical jar openers, that's the kits, that's the tissue pouches. Then the next row was a row of jar openers, and then the next row was another row of jar openers, because I had 1,177 jar openers to display, and I had 4 tables that are 4 foot long. So 4 by 4, I had 16 feet, so times 2, so 32 feet worth of jar openers, and they were still stacked like you couldn't really see every single pattern. You had to file through them because there's 280 patterns. And even with that, people were asking me, oh, do you have this? Do you have this? Oh, I forgot to grab that list. So I started writing down all the things that people were asking me. I'll put it on the screen and post all the patterns that people asked me for that I didn't have. You would think with 280 patterns that I could please everybody. Nope. But that's fine. Before, I was just like writing it down on random pieces of paper when people would ask me. But this year, to be more organized, I have one piece of paper where on the front I did a grid, and I'm writing down all the patterns that people are asking me for. And on the other side, I'm writing down if someone tells me a show that I should go to, so that does 2 things for me. One, when I do get to go to the fabric store, I can know, oh, these are the things I need to keep an eye out for. And then 2, on the back, when I do my yearly recap and I do my planning for the next year and what shows that I want to do, and I'm looking at the calendar, I have my list all in one place. So I think that's going to work out really well. And it also lets me know where these people want things, right? Like, okay, one of the things was raccoons. Like, what if nobody else asks me for raccoons, but only people in like Northern Virginia? Then like, that's something to keep in mind, that like when I go do those shows, that's a more interested animal, if that makes sense. Yeah. Looking through my notes here. It was definitely a lot of work. Oh, the other thing that I want to do. So I've done the wine bags a couple different ways. So when I do an outside show and I have my tent, my favorite way to display the wine bags is to just hang them on the wall. That works out really well. But when I'm in an inside show and I don't have the wall to hang things on, I've been putting them in baskets, and they were kind of like floppy, right? Like these are jar openers, these aren't the wine bags, but they were kind of like just flopping over because they're like taller, right? So they're falling over. So I want to like cut up some cardboard and then insert it, so then you can like file through the wine bags. I was surprised. I sold 3 wine bags this weekend. Those are really a hit or miss whether or not they'll sell. And I don't have a really big selection right now. The reusable towels, the wine bags, and the tissue pouches are all cut up. The towels are not cut up. The wine bags and the tissue pouches are cut up, so we do need to make those. Okay, so comparing the different years. So 2022, I had $512 in sales. Highlighting on jar openers, I sold 23 jar openers in 2022, and it's crazy. In 2022, I just had one little bowl of jar openers. Then 2023, I did $840 in sales and sold 48 jar openers. And that time, I did start doing my down the table situation, but it was way less patterns, right? 2024, I was not there. And then 2025, this year, drum roll please, we did $706 in sales and sold 108 jar openers. That is crazy, because last Saturday I spent all day working on jar openers, right? I started at like 7:20 in the morning and ended at 4:30, and I made 75 jar openers. So I sold more jar openers in one day than I made in a day. So not that I sold the jar openers I specifically made in that day, but that's pretty crazy. And I knew the show was going to be good, and that's why it was worth all the effort and going down at last minute. If this was just a random show that I've never done before, I would not have like packed up and gone at such last minute and like made all the effort. I mean, just setting up the jar openers, because there were so many patterns and so much quantity, it took me over half an hour just to do the jar openers. Like on Saturday morning when I got there, and I already had a plan, like, okay, here's where all my displays are going. I got everything else, all my displays set up, like the tissue pouches, the towels were ready to go, the kits, and then the jar openers, I had them organized in the bins. I had 9 bins. I ended up leaving this bin at home because this one only has 3 patterns in it. You can see how many duplicates there are. So this stack here is this pattern, and then we've got this pattern, so it's like pretty big, and then this pattern. So I left this bin at home, so we ended up taking 8 bins worth to the show. And so I had them already in categories, so then I just laid out all the stacks of the categories, right? Like I had them all vertical, and then I figured out, okay, so this is how I want them, and then I pushed them out. And then I went and pushed them all out to see if I had enough space, and then I sat there, and what I do is with the jar openers, so each pattern, I like shuffle the stack, right? Like, okay, this pattern, I want 1 facing. This pattern, I want 1 facing. Obviously the stacks aren't this big because the jar openers on the table had less than 5, but let's say that these are 2 different patterns. So then each pattern is shown 1 time, right? So I did that 280 times, and I was running out of space at the end of each row. So then I'd have to go back to the start of the row and like scooch things over. So it took me like 35 or 40 minutes just to do the jar openers. But I knew it was worth it, even though it was only 1 day, because of the fact that having the jar openers all the way around the table, that makes people have to look at all of my product. It helps also keep people separated so that like someone can be shopping on this side, someone can be shopping on this side. So it's really good to like get people all around the whole booth. So it ended up working out. I'm really happy with how the setup looked. So for the numbers, we did $778 in gross, $706 in net, because every 3 items you buy, I do a $2 discount in person. So if you buy the jar openers, they're $6 each, so it's 3 for $16. And that's my most common sale. My most common sale is $16. So I had 44 sales. The average sale was $17.68. And it was $72 in discounts. I did $432 in credit card and $315 in cash. Cash, that's funny. So I did not have my, I have 3 tills, right? I have the one that I actively use in my fanny pack. I highly recommend using a fanny pack and not a money box. It, in my opinion, is much safer. It's much easier. It moves with you, right? And you know where your money is at all times. Like if you ever had to like go to the bathroom or something, you take it with you. Like it's not just sitting there where someone can steal it and it's not obvious as to what it is. So highly recommend the fanny pack system. I did not reset my fanny pack till. So I didn't have a ton of ones in there. I had quite a few 20s. So I did not set myself up for success there, because a lot of people will give me a 20 and then they need $4 back. That's my most common transaction, right? But thankfully I had 2 additional tills. So with me, I had $200 in ones separately somewhere else. So I was able to pull out my second till. I have not touched that second till in like 2 years, but I had it with me in case I needed it. So now I do need to go to the bank and exchange bigger bills for smaller bills, but highly recommend fanny pack and then having an extra till. And I have a whole video talking about money and tills and stuff. I'll have that link down below. The credit card fees were $13.36. That's going to Square. And then the products sold, so there was 108 jar openers purchased, 9 tissue pouches, 3 wine bags, and 1 kit. So it was $648 in jar openers, $54 in tissue pouches, $30 in wine bags, and $16 in kits. And I think there's 2 reasons why I did better in 2023 versus 2025. So 2023 was $840 and 2025 was $706. I think the first reason I did better in 2023 is that I was there sequentially. I was there 2022, 2023, so I had repeat customers. 2, I sold a lot more reusable towels then, and now I didn't sell a single reusable towel, even though I had a ton of displays, right? I had like so many of them, and my sign says reusable towels. I did talk to quite a few people about the reusable towels, but nobody wanted to buy them. So the reusable towels are $16 right off the bat. So that's a lot higher of a price point. And when I was talking about the bins earlier, so I had the same amount of space taken up by the towels and the jar openers. The towels was $2,000 worth of inventory. The jar openers was $6,000 worth of inventory. When I make all of these into towels and I sell them, I'm done with the towels. I am not going to do them anymore. They are not worth the space, the effort, the table space that they take up. It's not worth it. Like they just don't sell enough consistently. Like there's some shows that they sell really well, and then there's some shows that they don't. And it's just not consistent enough. And there's too many people selling them these days that it's not worth it. So I am going to use the inventory that I have, and that will probably take me through the next year or 2. I mean, my overall goal is to just have the jar openers as my only product anyways. I don't want to have multiple products. Like just having the jar openers and the kits is what I would like to do. And I really want to do a lot more with my digital. So I have, the kits are made for my digital patterns. I have 4 digital patterns right now, and they also have YouTube tutorials associated with them. And so those are digital patterns. And so I have the digital patterns printed out and with the material in them, and that's the kit. The other offering I have is that you could book a consulting mentorship time slot, and one-on-one or a small group of 4 or 5 people, we can do a virtual lesson together on how to make the product. And so those are like a couple of the things that I've got going on with the kits and the digital. But, you know, just trying to try multiple different things, you know, adjusting, putting displays in different spots. The wine bags and the tissue pouches were in the more prominent spot and those sold. I wonder if I would have switched them if no tissue pouches and wine bags would have sold, if the reusable towels would have sold. I don't know. It was only one day, so it's not like I could like test trial and try a different thing. I mean, the towels took up the entire left flank of the booth, and it said it on my sign. My sign predominantly says jar openers and reusable towels. So I feel like it's very obvious, and then anyone that came in from the side definitely saw them, and multiple people talked about them, multiple people touched them, multiple people, I had conversations with them about it. So I don't know. But overall, it was a really good show. It was worth my effort. I really hope that like doing the show and having a positive interaction with the event hosts, that then now I will be able to get into the winter show. I did already apply for that show and I'm waitlisted, so we'll wait to see what happens. I did have multiple customers ask me, oh, are you going to be here for the Christmas show? And I was like, I want to be. Go let the people know at the front that you want me here. Like, I want to be here, but I have to be let in, you know? So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I do need to send in all my applications for all the other shows, but I'll have them listed on the screens, the shows that I plan to do. Yeah, so let me know if you came to the show and what your thoughts were. I think that they did a really good job on the variety. Sewing in particular, there were 4 of us that were in the sewing category. There was Amber from Hill Haven, and she has bags, and then she had a lot of really cute like Easter things. She had like this little carrot bag and this little bunny bag. She has headbands. And then there was somebody selling totes. So they had totes, and then I think they had like zipper pouches. And then there is a husband and wife duo where the husband does woodworking and games and the wife does sewing. And she had like the bowl cozies and casserole covers, things like that. So yes, there was 4 people with fabric and 4 people with sewing, but none of us were like stepping on each other's toes and like having the same product. So I think that was really helpful and good for the customers too, that it wasn't like, oh my gosh, like we already saw this product, because the spring show is only upstairs versus the winter show is upstairs and downstairs. And then it's only 1 day versus the winter show is 2 days. So anyways, I think they did a good job with variety. As the category that I'm in, I think that there was plenty of variety, and I think that they did a good job. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and have a wonderful day.